In part 1 of this video, I showed you how I took the famous Hayabusa bullet train from Tokyo to Ichinoseki, and in Ichinoseki we saw Pokemon special train station. Then we went to Hiraizumi and we looked at Konjikido, and we had an amazing meal of mochi. Now let's continue on that journey. The food was amazing, and now we are headed to Motsuji Temple, our next World Heritage Site. It will take about 10-15 minutes on walk, so let's get started. These are the campuses of the remains of the Motsuji Temple and the Motsuji Temple Garden. 1,200 years ago, just think about how magnificent it would have looked in its heyday. There were 40 temples and pagodas and no less than 500 priest residences in this campus. And so the legend goes that in the year 850, the great priest Enin, third head abbot of the Tendai sect, was traveling around northern Japan when he became lost in a thick fog in this area. He was unable to proceed further, and so when Enin glanced at his feet, he noticed the hair of a white deer lying there beside him. He was intrigued and he followed the trail of hair, and finally he finds the owner, a white stag. Enin approached this stag, but then it vanished into thick fog, and in its place appeared a silver-haired old man who told Enin, "This is a sacred place. If you build a temple here, the Buddhist law shall surely spread among the people." And Enin sensed that this old man was an incarnation of the healing Buddha called Yakushi in Japanese, and so Enin followed his advice and built a hall which is named Kashoji, which doesn't exist anymore, but we can see the remains of it. And that's the legend of Motsuji's founding. Now, let's look around and enjoy the beauty of the place 1200 years after it was originally formed. And we are in. If you want, you can take these sticks with you that will help you walk. It cost me 700 yen. This is a souvenir shop. If you want to buy some souvenir, you can buy from here. And on my left is the museum. So if you want to pay a visit, I highly recommend it. You can't film it, but it's still worth paying a visit. And this is what the original building looked like in its heyday. In the middle of each lake, you'll find an artificially created island. That has been the central theme of all the lakes and ponds that we'll be seeing in this video today. And this is what it looks like now. So we are here at one of the big gates through which you would enter the complex. It's Great Southern Gate, and it was really big, but it was destroyed in fire in 1573. But you can still see the 12 foundation stones. So you can imagine how big this gate was. So this was the gate. This used to be the gate before it was destroyed. The glory is long gone, but you can still see the remains, and you can still understand the idea of the pure land garden. This is the reconstruction of the original belfry, but after COVID-19 restrictions, you can't ring the bell anymore. The architecture is very similar to the original. In the campus, we have a few mentionable temples, such as this one is Amitabha Temple, very beautiful to look at. And next to that, this statue of Jizo Bosatsu, believed to have the power to free you from the cycle of reincarnations. And this is how the pond looks like from the northern side. You can see small stones which are decorating the pond from this side. Very beautiful. This is a feeder stream that feeds water to the Pure Land pond that we just saw. Think about it. After 1200 years, it still works in its original form. If you're coming in May, then you'll be lucky to witness the floating poetry festival that happens around this stream. This is Founder's Hall. So this temple is dedicated to Enin, who founded this temple complex. This is what Enin looked like. And just after you visit the temple of Enin, turn around, walk a bit, and you will see the pond and the garden from the west side. It's just breathtaking. To recap, this is how I walked around the pond. This is where I entered. Then we went to this section of the lake. Then I kept walking on the periphery and we saw the belfry. We saw the feeding stream, after which I walked to Enin's temple. Then I saw the beautiful scenery from west side of the pond. And now I'm back to where I entered this garden. We are back into the main campus. This is the main temple. You can see Buddha here. And near the exit, we have this magnificent piece of Matsuo Basho's poetry. It says, "Summer grass is all that's left of ancient warriors' dreams." And that was Motsuji Temple campuses, my number one on the list of must-visit places in Hiraizumi. And now we are at our third World Heritage Site, Kanji Zion Temple Garden, and it's literally a stone's throw away from Motsuji, which we just visited, so that's very helpful. This one was constructed by the wife of Fujiwara, who ruled Hiraizumi. And the biggest attraction of this ruined temple is an 8,100 square meter lake, which is called the Dancing Crane Pond. You can see the majestic mountains which have snow on them, and this tree looks very beautiful. This is all reconstructed, so you can see a lot of leaves, and they have tried to recreate everything in the same image that it was 1200 years ago. This is Nakajima, the central island. This is the Fugendo Hall remains, and there was a way to go in the middle of the pond to the place where they could enjoy nature. This pond is called the Crane Pond, but it has a lot of ducks, but very peaceful. And finally, we are at our last World Heritage Site, which is called Muryoko in Ato. This was built in 12th century. Excavation work is still going on. You can see the pond, you can see the islands that they made, and they made this place on the same concepts of one of the temples in Kyoto. So they wanted to rival Kyoto. And so this was another example of their efforts of making this place the Kyoto of the North. Now this is an artificially created hill. Twice a year, in April and August, the sun would align with other buildings and the royalty could go to the middle of the island and they could see the sun setting. And the sunset is the main attraction here. So if you're coming and if you can afford to stay longer for the sunset, there's nothing like it. But because I had to get back to the station, I can't stay until the sunset. but I'll try to stay as long as possible. And that concludes our trip to Hiraizumi. It's very, very cold and the wind is dangerous. But I really enjoyed because I did a lot of walking. I'm very sure I did about 20 kilometers of walking in total. I'm gonna take the last train to Ichinoseki Station. Thank you for watching till the end, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, bye bye.